All right, we are live. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our UFC Ottawa pre-fight show presented by Carlton's MMA. My name is Eddie Law. We have Jesse Ruvalcaba with us and Dave straight out
Yo.
from the AVQ. My friend joining us once again. Dave, first of all, give us the update here on Albuquerque. You were talking about how it's actually pretty fucking hot right now.
Yeah, Albuquerque's been hot. It's unusually hot actually. So not quite as hot as where you're at, because I know what type of heat you're dealing with down there in the valley, though.
Yeah, definitely. Jesse, man, you had the stylish sunglasses. Let the people see the sunglasses, man. That actually was working for you for a second. Let them see it for a second.
Wait, what are you trying to say with that?
he's got. I call it the GTA 5 look. That's Grand Theft Auto sunglasses look. Shout out to Andrew Reed. Huh?
Those are my Johnny Cage sunglasses right there.
Exactly. All right. Shout out to Andrew Reed hitting us up on the YouTube. What up, homie? And I'm assuming Mike Jarvis is going to join in soon, hopefully, and a few other guys. Anybody that's watching this, we appreciate you guys. All right, we're talking UFC Ottawa this weekend, but real quick, Jesse, your impressions of UFC 199. You had the Bisping pick correct.
Yeah, damn. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I had that correct. I just didn't think it was going to be like that. I don't even think Bisping thought in his head that he was going to end it like that. I think he probably thought it was going to be more volume to the ending. But man, what an amazing night. I mean, pretty much it's going to take a lot for UFC 200 to upstage 199 in my opinion. These last few cards have kind of been delivering. I mean, even this one looks pretty good by comparison to 200. I mean, we can see that now they're starting to throw out the big guns, right? Bringing in Brock Lesnar to kind of boost up the sales of that. So I just think 199 was amazing. Anybody that was there, anybody that didn't see it, too bad to go watch it, but that was a great card.
Definitely, and we know we had Clay Guida on that card there, Dave. But besides that fight, and obviously that didn't go Guida's way, obviously. But besides his fight, overall, what's your feeling about 200 or 199? Sorry.
Yeah, it was. I mean, my picks were total. You know, they totally went bad after sort of around the Guida fight. The Bisping, I should have definitely went with the count. I thought he'd get it done. I just, like Jesse said, nobody thought it would end up. You know, that'd be the result of that main event. But yeah, it's a night where it's going to be tough to top. Yeah, adding Brock Lesnar, they possibly could add another fight to UFC 200 to try to outdo 199. But what a moment it was, though. I mean, Bisping, after the long ride in the UFC, he holds gold, puts Rockhold out after all the shit talking, celebrates that moment with his family. That's a moment you just can't forget about that in the UFC. That's a great moment for the sport. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely, and actually, if anyone that didn't see it, Bisping was actually they had a big old welcome cake and all this stuff over at where they filmed Fox Sports 2 at FS1 where they filmed UFC Tonight. They had this whole thing for him, and they actually gave him a band like a Dracula little cape and all that for the count and all. They get cheesy as hell, but they did it for DC as well, and you gotta appreciate when people take care of their own and they really celebrate the guy. And again, a guy deserves it. 10 years fighting, begging for the silver fight. Every time he gets this close to a title fight and somehow he just loses out and finally gets over the hump, 2 weeks notice, steps up like a boss, and then knocks Rockhold out to win the title. 100% props to Bisping, 100% deserves it. And I guess we'll see who he gets next. They're talking Dan Henderson, they're talking Chris Weidman, maybe-ish. They're talking possible Rockhold. And then, of course, Jacare's in the mix and all that. So 185, every time there's a new champion in any division, it's wide open. But at 185 seems like every little bit we get another wide open, division. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with him. But we are talking UFC Ottawa, how it goes down this weekend, obviously Saturday. Our Fight Pass prelims are at 6:45 p.m. Eastern Time, 3:45 Pacific Time. Kicking off with the the flyweights actually. Yeah. Number 10, Ali Bagatinov against Jean Herrera. Bagatinov is 13-4, 3-2 in the UFC. He is riding a 2-fight losing streak, but it is to DJ and Demetrius Johnson, the champion, and to Joseph Benavidez, if I'm not mistaken. Now after the Johnson fight, I always gotta mention it. He did test positive for EPO, lost I think a year or so. Came back, he lost to Benavidez. Now he gets Jean Herrera. You got to think if he loses this fight, he's in, his roster spot's in deep trouble. Meanwhile, Herrera is pretty young, pretty new. He's 9-1 overall, 1-1 in the UFC. His last win was actually a short notice fight against Joby Sanchez, a second round TKO. So we got a fight between a veteran and a pretty brand new guy to the UFC. So Looking at it that way, Dave, what do you think? What do you think on this fight? Who are you picking?
Yeah, it's an interesting fight. It could be another Polo Reyes, Dong Hyun Kim to start off the card right here. Just 125 version. What's interesting? It's Herrera. He's 1-1 against Albuquerque. He's got a win over Joby Sanchez, like you said. He's a tough ass dude. I've seen Joby in the gym. I mean, he's actually out of the UFC currently right now. He'll be on a card, I think, in August, competing back again. So he has another fight booked. But besides that, Bogatinov, like you mentioned, he's lost to the two top guys. I mean, in that division, Demetrius and then Benavidez is right there. He's fought top-notch guys. He can go 5 rounds. I see this being a brawl. I see it being possibly, it could end quick. I think I got a Bogatinov by a decision or possible knockout at second round. But then again, it's gonna be one of those fights. Like I said, I referenced the Polo Reyes, Dong Hyun Kim, because this is a great fight to start off this card, though, definitely.
I tell you what, if the UFC could pull off that kind of fight, the Dong Hyun Kim kind of fight that happened this last card, they would be the happiest people ever, and Fight Pass would have so many subscribers. Because I was watching that fight into round 1. One of my friends has Fight Pass and he never watches it. I legit called him during the fight, like, dude, get on that shit right now. There is a brawl going down. And he was totally into it, man. It was awesome. Now, Jesse, we got, again, Bogatinov, veteran, spot DJ, spot Joe. He doesn't have much momentum, obviously, with that suspension he had for EPO. And then, Gene Herrera, he got that short notice fight, wins by TKO. The one loss he has in the UFC is against Ray Borg, who we give a lot of credit to because he's really, really good. Ray Borg's one of those prospects that you're hoping is able to just keep his momentum going and keep improving enough to make some kind of run. So, Jesse, what do you think about this fight, man, and who you got?
Man, it's a tough fight for me because, like you said, I mean, you've got the veteran, the UFC veteran of Ali Bogatinov. He fought for a title. Just couldn't make it happen. But I think the overall bigger problem with picking Bogatinov is that he has no gas tank, man. We saw it in his last fight. He just didn't seem like his old self, right before he got popped for EPO. And it almost brings into question pretty much his entire run to the title of, having that power late into the 3rd, 4th round. And I think the problem also is that he's going to be looking for redemption in this fight, and I think Herrera is going to be able to absorb the damage. He's a lot younger, or younger in the sport, not as much damage to his body, so he's going to be able to get in there, absorb the punishment, and I think he's just gonna outwork Bogatinov. I think Bogatinov's gonna end up getting the boot. One of the bigger things that I think is a problem with Bogatinov is, to me, it seems like he hasn't changed anything. It doesn't seem like he's trying to evolve, like he's trying to remedy that lapse in cardio that he had. He's just kind of business as usual. And if you take a look at the way he trains and the way he kind of does his day-to-day business, he doesn't seem like he's really putting the time into this fight. So I think Herrera's gonna put one over him, outwork him, and probably finish him in the 3rd round.
Yeah, definitely. And look, the way I see it is kind of like Jesse says. Bogatinov, even in his last fight, he didn't. I hate to say, he didn't look interested. If that makes any sense to you guys. Like, to me, it seems like he was just in there just to throw punches, and just because he was supposed to be, right, to get a paycheck and get out. But what I like about Herrera is the hunger. He's a young cat, 26 years old, and if you saw the fight against Joby, even the fight against Ray Borg, the kid was in there. He was, he was like, what do they say, the eye of the tiger, or whatever. He had that. I thought he had that in his, in a space when he was fighting. So I'd like to call the upset, or I guess an upset. I'm not sure what the odds are, so don't quote me on that. But I'd like to pick Herrera there, probably by decision. But again, if we get one of those fights like we did last card, I mean, damn, let's hope for that. Because I know, me and Jesse always talk about this, that the UFC tries to set up fights to try and get momentum going on the card, try to get finishes going, get people excited about the card, and so they'd actually sit through it and watch it. So that's obviously what we hope out of this fight, but we'll have to find out. But I'm going Herrera on this one as well. All right. Next fight up, Colby Covington against Jonathan I don't know how to say his name. I'm going to say Meaner, just for the lack of being able to say that shit. Covington is 8-1. Huh?
I think it's Munier is how you pronounce it, I'm pretty sure.
We'll go with that.
Munier. Yeah, Munier.
Let's go with Munier. There you go. Anyway, Covington is 8-1, 3-1 in the UFC. His last fight was a submission loss to Warley Alves, and that was in December last year. And meanwhile, Munier is 7-0. He's making his UFC debut. Now, Jesse, we talked about this. UFC jitters are real. It's real. You can't shake it. Just like everyone says, I know Dominic Cruz says cage rust isn't real. We'd like to, we could debate that all day. But there's one thing that I think most people can agree on is the UFC, the octagon jitters. They're real. Now he's coming in against Colby Covington, who's been in there enough times. So, I mean, I'm leaning towards Covington. Who you got, Jesse?
Yeah, I gotta agree with that. I mean, Covington is just more seasoned in the big show, as we'd like to say. Jonathan, I mean, in here, it's really rare people win their first fight. I mean, the statistic on that has got to be, a losing statistic. You got to understand that getting into the UFC, you just got to look good to stick around, basically. If you can win it, hey, good job for you. We're going to talk about somebody that on his first fight had to fight a 5-round title fight. And it's kind of hasn't looked good for him ever since. But I just don't see anything Jonathan can bring to the table that Colby is not going to be able to deal with. And like you said, those octagon jitters are going to be a big thing in this thing. Even though it's early in the card enough where not that much crowd is going to be there, so it might be a little bit more intimate for him, and it might calm his nerves. But it's still Fight Pass. A lot of people watching. I think it's still going to be a lot of pressure for him, and I just don't see him. I think he'll look good in his debut, but I just don't think he's got enough to beat Covington at this point.
Yeah, and again, just like you were saying, I lean towards experience almost all the time, unless it's like a special talent or age is a real issue. So yeah, I'm going with Covington as well. Dave, what do you think about this fight, man?
Yeah, the opponent, Mounier, I believe he's a TriStar guy, so I mean he's going to be there in Canada. He's going to have some support. It's a big stage though, like Jesse, like you guys mentioned, it's the UFC. It's your coming out party. I've seen plenty of guys coming out, taking the loss and in their opening bouts. I mean, there's a list of them out there who are currently, great fighters who are still, top guys in the division, in their respective division. But I think this one here, Covington, I mean, like you mentioned, his last bout was on, I believe, the McGregor card when he lost to Warley Alves. So he's had a little bit of time off. I think he gets back in there because Mounier is fighting. It's going on short notice. Mm-hmm. It's his first fight in the UFC. I'm leaning Covington definitely by a submission second round.
Yeah, and look, those short notice fights, like, I get Bisping won. He's a veteran, right? But guys that come in new ones that take those short notice fights, most of the time is to get the foot in the door. You just want to get in the show, in the game, and then, once you get this fight out of, win or lose, you get the fight out of the way, you get a full camp, then you can show what you really got. So that's I'm thinking that's what Jonathan wants to do here in this. I mean, what's up?
I mean, look at also. I mean, you have to take the biggest example of a guy that said that octagon jitters are real. DC, the guy that was a Strikeforce heavyweight champion, went to the Olympics, all the big stages he was at, and he said he froze his first time in the octagon. He said he didn't feel good, he didn't look good. And that performance was still pretty dominant, and even he was like, man, they're real. I mean, you got to imagine, you got to account for that being a first-timer in the UFC. You got to account for that, for those nerves, just knowing that you're just not going to be at your best day, and you just got to fight through it as best as you can.
Definitely. All right, up next we have the ladies at 135. Number 14 ranked Randa Marcos against Jocelyn Jones-Ledbarger. Marcos is 5-4, 1-2 in the UFC. Now a lot of these girls at 135 and at 115 have weird records because they're relatively new divisions. So you're not going to get the 7-0s and 10-0s, none of that. You're going to get a lot of 4 and 5s and 2 and 3s and all that. And still be really pretty high ranked fighters. Now Marcos again is she's 5-4, 1-2 in the UFC. She lost to Penne and the Polish chick Karolina however you say her last name, and her win is against Ashlyn Daly. So it's not. A lot of people like Daly. I'm not a Daly fan. I don't really think she's UFC caliber, kind of fighter. And beating her to me doesn't really give you a lot of credit, but it gives you that W. And obviously, that's in the UFC. You need as many as you can get just to stay on the roster. Now, Jones-Ledbarger is a MMA lab product. We're talking Benson Henderson. We're talking all the crew over in Glendale. A lot of high-level jiu-jitsu people. A lot of high-level strikers out of that gym. A lot of great late replacement type of fighters. A lot of times they're late replacement. They call the MMA lab because those fighters have guts. They have they have cojones. What do you want to say? To get in there against anybody on 3 days' notice, 5 days' notice. They don't even matter. They'll get in there. Now, she's 6-2. She lost her only fight, UFC, very late replacement against Tisha Torres, and still, to me, looked like she could have won that fight. So I have high hopes for her. This is a tough fight for both girls for sure. Randa Markos is a super tough girl. Jones is a kind of fighter that wants to. She always says it herself. She wants to stand and bang. So this looks to be one of those fights, Dave, that everybody is just hoping for. One where the fighters throw all fucks out the window and just stay in the pocket and throw. So what do you think about this fight and who you got in that?
Yeah, me and Dora go with Ronda Marcos in this one on TriStar. She's got she's fought a lot of known, won and lost against well-known fighters. Like you mentioned, the Carolina Kowalkiewicz loss, and then she's matched up with Rose Namajunas, I believe, now next is her next bout. But yeah, she's got the experience on her side. She's got the ground game as well too. I think if they do stand and bang, that'll be a sick fight. They'll duke it out, and somebody's going to go down. But I think if this fight it goes around Marcos' way, it's going to have to take place on the ground. I think she's better there. I think she could take her there rather easily. And yeah, I'd take in Ronda Marcos absolutely by decision, submission possibly too.
Yeah, definitely. And honestly, a lot of us hope for that. Remember at the end of Lamas Holloway goes, hey, let's just stand right here. And Lamas is like, yeah, all right. And we're all hoping for that. And if it happens especially with these two girls that can throw, whoo, that would be awesome. Now, Jesse, again, Marcos and Jones, two different kind of camps. Two of the most the higher level camps in the world, really, in MMA Lab and TriStar. Who do you think edges out this fight?
It's an interesting fight. It's kind of a tough fight to really dissect almost, because Lieberger, we've heard about her for a while. I mean, most people, I think she was Invicta, her and her twin sister. They're both really kind of well known in the women's MMA game. They're both pretty tough, well-rounded chicks. The thing that I've kind of liked about Marcos is that she's changed up a lot of things since she was on the Tough Show. She moved closer to the camp. She's putting in more time into being a full-time fighter. Now that she can actually do it. So I think it's kind of a coming out party for both of these girls. I think it's just going to come down to. Honestly, it's just going to come down to who's got the more skills and who's able to utilize them better. I think they're both equally matched on the feet. I think Jocelyn maybe has a slight edge, and I think Jocelyn actually can defend pretty well what Marcos is going to bring to the table on the ground. So I think both of these girls are just going to have to really. It's going to be one of those game of inches. Whoever gives up an inch, it's going to be, quick mistake, and then it's all over. I'm leaning towards Lieberger just because I think I picked her in that Tisha Torres fight. Because, like I said, a lot of people that are in the know have kind of been hearing about her and her sister a lot. And we've kind of got a lot of high hope for her. So I think this should be the fight where she's comfortable and, gets after it and gets that win.
Yeah, and shout out to Jay Russell from Vendetta Fighter hitting us up on the YouTube, having some fun with some drinks there, having some kicking. He said, "Don't y'all be disrespecting Canada and shit." Obviously Canadian guy, so is what it is. All right, moving on to the next fight here. Elias Theodorou against Sam Alvey. This is your featured fight on the Fight Pass prelims. Theodorou's 12-1, 3-1 in the UFC. Last fight was a decision loss to Thiago Santos in December of last year. Smiling Sam Alvey. 26-7-0, 1-0 contest. He's 3-2 in the UFC. Last fight was a TKO loss to Derek Brunson, but he has that knockout power. He has put guys out with one-hitter quitters, and the two of them actually pretty recently. So, Jesse, let's start off with this fight here. Now you got a high-volume, a guy striker in Theodorou against a very accurate striker in Sam Alvey. This fight is not going to the ground. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's. You could almost go look for a prop bet and see what the over/under is that this hits the ground, and take the under because it ain't happening. I think these two are just gonna slug it out, especially the kind of run that Sam Alvey has kind of been on, this like kind of resurgence of sorts where he's kind of like just enjoying what he's doing. He gets in there, gets after it, tries to just finish fights. He's not really interested in getting a decision win. He's not interested in making it boring. He just wants to fight, win, get out of there, cash his check. So I think Elias is the perfect guy. And got a biker gang coming through. Elias is a perfect guy for that style, in my opinion, where both of these guys are just going to kind of throw caution to the wind, and we're going to have an exciting main event to the Fight Pass prelims here. So I think it's gonna be pretty exciting. Unfortunately, I think with his last knockout being so recent, I think Theodoro's gonna put hands on his chin and put Sam Alvey out.
Yeah, and you know, people think that you can just recover in like one day from any kind of knockout, right? And it's really difficult to come back from getting knocked out. Your chin's still very you know, I guess sensitive if you come back too soon. Now, I don't think Alvey fought since last, I think last year, right? I'm not sure. Whatever. Mm-hmm. But it's been a while, so he's had some time to recover. Now, you know, Dave, what do you think about this fight, man? Two strikers again. Like I said, Theodoro, very aggressive, high volume guy. Sam Alvey, incredibly accurate. In fact, one of the most accurate, I think, in that division at least. It honestly is. It's a mixture for a great feature fight on the Fight Pass prelims. Who you got?
Great mix for a fight, like you mentioned. Yeah, these guys are going to go at it. The styles, see it as that playing out that way. It's number 27 Alvey against 26 Elias. That's world rankings. I mentioned I wanted to reference some world rankings, but so yeah, both these guys. I mean, Alvey, I think all of his wins, if not, I mean, the majority of them are by knockout or TKO. So if he does win the fight, it's going to be by a knockout or by TKO. Elias, I'm picking Elias in the fight. I like Elias. He's coming off a 6-month layoff. He had a tough bout. Santos took him to some deep waters and did some damage to him last time out. But he's on his home turf. I see Elias getting in there and banging and taking care of business. I really like him in this bout. Thought it was a tough fight to pick, but yeah, now you know everything's seen Alvey, you know what he's done and how his style is and how it's going to play into Elias's style perfectly. I see him finishing the fight second round. Elias Theodoro wins this one.
Definitely, and Andrew Reed saying Jesse, he's saying be careful the bikers don't think you're an undercover Fed. So.
They might. Who knows?
They might, dude, but I don't know. I don't think the bikers would give a shit.
I'm kind of Arab looking, so they might stay away from me.
And then Jay says, yeah, he's stalking out a big drug deal and doing a podcast. Good multitasker. Oh man, yeah.
Not very low key if that was true, right?
Right, exactly. All right, moving on. The FS1 prelims, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 5:30 p.m. Pacific Time, kicking off with Chris Beal against Joe Soto against Chris Beal, one of the tough guys. Actually, I believe he was on Team Ronda in that incredibly awful season of tough. Well, not that they've all been, any of the recent ones have been great, but you know, whatever. 10-2, he's 2-2 in the UFC. Is on a 2-fight losing streak against Neil Seery and Chris Clades, who by the way is no longer in the UFC. So you got to think if Beal loses this, he's getting his pink slip out, you know, to head to World Series of Fighting or Bellator or whatever. Meanwhile, Joe Soto 15-5. 0-3 in the UFC, a 3-fight losing streak against TJ Dillashaw, Anthony Burchak, and Tanaka. Now, the Dillashaw, you understand, he got a 24-hour notice on that, so that's completely understandable. The guy he was supposed to fight that night was Burchak, and he lost to him. And then the Tanaka fight was just weird. It was a split decision. I don't think he should have lost. I thought Soto should have won that fight. So he's also on the edge right there. If he loses one more, man, it looks really bad for him. So starting off here with Dave, man, what do you think about this? The bantamweights, that whole division now with Dominic Cruz back, people want to make the case that it's wide open again. It is and it isn't, but it's not like these two guys even have a shot right now for a title. But this is showing you like the bottom part of that division, right? So two guys that really need a win. Who do you think takes it?
Yeah, exactly. Like you mentioned, both guys are coming off losses. Soto, 3 losses. You can kind of, give him the benefit of the doubt on the Dillashaw fight. Absolutely. I mean, yeah, you don't just, come out and, beat the world champion on 24 hours notice, but it can happen. But then again, Beal, yeah, if he loses, he's out of the UFC. I mean, Soto, likewise, I see this fight definitely going to a decision. I like Soto in the fight, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be a real exciting bout. Yeah, I think both these guys are desperate for a win, though, so we could see, some early action. Fight could end early, but I see Soto handling business and taking out a decision and getting his first win in the octagon.
Yeah, and Joe Soto's actually been doing a lot of good work in grappling, right? Doing the EBIs and doing really well in them, honestly. And I think he's coming up on the next one. And it's actually a short notice fight for Soto as well, if now that I think about it. He didn't have a fight for some reason. He was complaining a little bit on social media about not having a fight. Finally got one, but it was short notice. But against Chris Beal, I wouldn't be too worried about that. I don't think. And I'm not saying Chris Beal's bad. I'm saying that Soto matches up pretty well with him. Jesse, what do you think about this fight, man?
I'll say it. I'll say Chris Beal is not that good, man. You know what? Watching him on that tough season, I wasn't impressed by him. His skills was just like subpar, really. And unfortunately, like we talked about, Joe Soto, big ups to him. First fight, he has kind of an interesting fight ahead of him. And, last minute they told him he has to cut that extra pound and get in there with a guy that's, the reigning champ. Yeah, that takes some balls to do that. And that beating that he took in that fight, I think it's taken him quite a while to recover, like, just, his kind of, his confidence. I think what got beaten more than anything was his confidence in that fight. He was coming in, I think, what was he? He was either the RFA champion or one of those champions, right?
Soto?
He was a champion where he was coming from, Joe Soto. So, I mean, he's a former champion, so he knows, what it takes to get in there and really do the damn thing. I just think that he has more skills than Chris Beal pretty much everywhere, and I think this is going to be a wash. I think the UFC wants Joe Soto to do something, and they're kind of, it's almost like they're throwing him a gimme fight, and it's kind of a dangerous fight when it's like that. But I don't think Joe Soto sees it as a gimme fight. I think he's going to come in serious and he's going to handle business.
And he needs to. He definitely needs to come in like it's a title fight for him, because it's basically his roster spot, both of them, but especially Joe Soto. I think with those 3 losses in a row, basically every UFC fight he's had is lost so far. So he needs to get that win on the board and avoid getting on the chopping block here with the UFC. Moving on, next fight, Tamdan McCrory, the Barn Cat, against Krzysztof Jotko. McCrory is 14-3. He's 4-3 in the UFC in total. This is I think his second or maybe even third, probably the second stint in the UFC. His last fight was actually a submission win over Josh Simon, which I was very happy about because I can't stand that guy. If you guys remember in the top, when he was like on top of the guy on his back going, "Oh, watch this," and started double hitting him like an asshole. Yeah, that was bull. Anyway, Jotko, meanwhile, 17-1, 4-1 in the UFC, 3-fight win streak over Trung Askham and Bradley Scott. So he's riding a pretty good wave. Both guys coming off wins. The Barn Cat, they both have a lot of momentum, but I think the Barn Cat has a lot of people behind him. He was cheered out. He was cheered a lot in the last fight. People were happy to see him, especially the ones that know his story, know who he is. So Jesse, thinking about taking both guys into consideration, the fact that they're both coming off wins. Jotko has a streak going. Barn Cat finally back in the UFC. Who are you picking?
I think I'm picking McCrory here. I'm thinking that a lot of people kind of have jumped on the wagon of Tandem, where he was he was in Bellator. He gave his sob story basically over there, and I think a lot of fans really took to him. That he took so much time off, did his thing, and then now he's coming back, and he's been looking great, man. He's been looking like just rejuvenated. One of those feel good stories. Where you hear like a fighter that wants to do this for a living, can't do it. Now he's able to do it again, and now he's really showing off his potential. I don't think it's going to be an easy fight for him. Like you said, Jotko running a really nice win streak here. Not really such really high-level guys that he's, not like top 10 guys that he's fought, but, still good wins. I just think McCrory's confidence is running really high, and I think that's what he's bringing into this fight. And again, he's one of those guys that's really exciting, lots of pressure, really, really powerful striking. And can really do everything. He's so well-rounded. So I just think he's gonna have Jotko's gonna have his hands full. Just avoiding staying out of danger. And I think he's gonna fall into one of those traps eventually.
Definitely. Now, Dave, who you got in this fight, man?
On this one, throw some numbers out there again. Tamdan, number 22. Jotko, number 32, world rankings. So that's what separates them. World, I don't know what the UFC ranking is, but this fight here, I see it being a really tough contested fight. I see it going to a decision. Jotko, it's surprising, like just over a year ago, I think he was at fights that he was supposed to be matched up with Brunson, with Uriah Hall, and then all of a sudden now he's back and he's on a little streak. He's got some momentum. McCrory, I'm familiar with him. I think, like I said, this fight's going to be very, it's gonna come down to possibly, one round guy gets first round, the other guy gets second, third round takes it. I think it's going to be real competitive. I think both guys are going to showcase what they got. It's a lot on the line for them. 22 against 32, though. That's why I kind of want to throw out those numbers to gauge where these guys rank in that division, just to show you on a world stat like where they stand, because it's really interesting when you look at it with just those numbers. You know what I mean?
Definitely. And I'm going with Barncat. The nickname alone would do it. But the fact that I've seen him fight before and all that, and then he's finally back and he looked really good in that last one. I like the Barncat, so I'm picking Barncat fully on nothing to do with his fighting, just Barncat and the fact that he's been in there before. So. It's one of those weird picks, I guess. All right, moving on to the light heavyweight division. Misha Cirkunov against newcomer Ion Kutelava, whatever the hell that means. Cirkunov is 11-2, 2-0 in the UFC, wins over Daniel Jolly and Alex Nicholson. Now, again, not huge names in the UFC or really in the MMA world that much, but you're still in the light heavyweight division where you would like some more names. You probably like him to be in the heavyweight, but still, the guy's a monster-looking dude, and he hits real hard. The new guy, meanwhile, Kutelava is 11-1, making his UFC debut. Again, Octagon Jitters, again, going in against a heavy hitter. Very, very tough guy in Cirkunov. Dave, what do you think about this fight, man?
I like Cirkunov in this fight. He's got some momentum behind him. He's a tough dude. He's out of a big Extreme Couture, Toronto, so he's going to have a lot of support. I see a lot of the Canadian guys pulling out wins. Honestly, that's why the Theodoro pick, and see a lot of these guys showing up. Ronda Marcos I picked as well. So I just see a lot of them taking these fights, and he's another one of them. He's definitely a prospect at light heavyweight, though. I think what's his ranking now? I think he believes he's near the top 20. I think he's 25 or 26. I think in light heavyweight right now to kind of see where he's at. But he's up and coming. I see him handling business, possibly second round finish, first round finish.
Yeah, and Cirkunov's one of those guys, Jesse. When they brought him in, they're hoping, and they're kind of getting. I mean, the first fight I think he had was I want to say it was a knockout win, but after that it was he had a neck crank in his last fight, and he won it. He tapped him. So you got ground game, and you got a guy that can crush a few ribs every time he lands. So you're hoping that he continues the momentum, and you can create a star almost right out of this Misha Cirkunov guy. Who are you picking?
I have to agree with Dave, man. Cirkunov is just he just looks intimidating. I mean, you look at that guy and you're like, oh my god, like that dude shouldn't even be fighting normal people. He's just like you said, he's just so well rounded. You don't know what he's gonna do to you. You don't know if he's gonna punch your face and put your lights out, or if he's just gonna push you against the cage and then choke you to death or take you down and just like beat your face. And he has so many tools and he utilizes them so well. Plus, he also has his strength and his size that gives him that extra intimidation factor. I don't know, man. It's kind of like to me it's like those fights where you're like, okay, Misha Cirkunov should win this fight pretty easily with everything that is on paper. But on the other side, you just never know. A newcomer again, not a in the check mark you want to have in your favor. Where it's your first time in the UFC. But I think it'll be a pretty interesting fight. But I think Cirkunov runs away with this one.
Yeah, I have to agree with you guys. Cirkunov's he's got everything, momentum, and you got a new guy coming in to fight you. And he's just Cirkunov doesn't even look human. He's a jacked, crazy dude with a lot of power and the ground game. So again, creating a star, and you're hoping he's one of them. All right, moving on here. Jason Sago against Leandro Silva. Sago's 11-2, 2-1 in the UFC. His actually the one loss in the UFC that he has is against Paul Felder. Then I think Leandro Silva is 19-2-1. He's got one no contest in there. 4-1 in the UFC. And one no contest thing is in the UFC as well. And then he's got a 2-fight win streak over Luis Gonzalez and Efrain Escudero. Now, a lot of people make jokes about Escudero because that guy's up and down more than anybody else. But he's actually had a pretty good run lately. And look, I like Leandro Silva in this fight. I really do. But Sago's pulled some stuff lately. I mean, he had a fight against who was it that it was real close, and I think he lost it. The split decision to Paul Felder. And Sago hung in there tough for sure. And Felder's a guy that hurts you every time he hits you. So kicking off here with Jesse, man, what do you think about this fight, man? Who are you picking?
Another very, very interesting fight. I think these couple fights at the beginning of the main card here are going to be very, very closely contested, really. I think they expect the Canadians to just kind of run away with this, but I think they're matched pretty well. I don't know. It's a tough fight for me. Both of these guys are kind of like misnomers in their division, right? I mean, they're getting wins, but then they're not really making a splash. They're not really becoming stars. They're not really becoming someone that, people are like, oh, you got to look out for this guy. Maybe if he gets a little bit more training, maybe if he does, this or that, he's going to be somebody to look after. So I think again, I think this is going to be another fight where we're going to see someone kind of emerge and be one of those future contenders. I'm going with Sago. Like you said, I mean, being able to really stay in there with Paul Felder, with everything that Paul Felder was throwing at him, I think he's got enough skills to be able to take out Leandro Silva.
Yeah, and you know what? I would think so as well. I like Leandro Silva a lot. I really do. It's just, again, and Dave talks about this a lot. You got a lot of support at home. You're in Canada. You're gonna have a lot of support. Whether or not people like to admit it, that hometown crowd. I know in sports like basketball and football, everyone always talks about home field advantage, home court advantage, home country advantage is big. It means a lot. Hypes you up. It gives you more importance. If you can handle that kind of pressure, it helps you, right? So, Dave, what do you think about this fight? Who you got?
Yeah, it's a weird fight. I mean, I had a tough time kind of, it's sort of a coin flip bout, but both guys are really, talented dudes. They're not really, like, yes, you mentioned the biggest stars, the name guys that people would know about, and they are on the main card. But I think Sago's won like 6 of his last 7 fights. I think the last time Silva lost, I think he fought like Francisco Trinaldo way back in the day, like 3 years ago, I believe. But this fight here, I see Sago doing his thing. I see him handling business. He's actually, well, if it's just the Canadian thing, I want to say a lot of these Canadian guys are going to pull out these fights. This one is a close one. I see Sago winning it by decision. I just think that. And then if you want to see kind of where I throw those numbers in the mix, I mean, if you want to think about it that way, Sago number 85, Silva number 56 in this bout. So, but then again, that's a world ranking. But I see Sago getting the win, and he's got some, 6 of the last 7. I mean, I think the guy takes care of business. It's not going to be the most exciting fight of the night, absolutely not. But we could all be surprised. But then again, I think Sago handles by decision.
All right, and then and again, Sago's a tough guy. And I'm gonna have to pick him just because what I saw against Felder, definitely impressed me, and I thought you could have gone with Sago to win that fight for real. Even Felder himself, you could tell in his face he wasn't satisfied with getting the W on that. So, again, Jason Sago, I think he pulls it off too and goes off a little run. I'm a big fan of home court advantage or home country advantage and a lot too. All right, moving on. Main card. This will be on FS1. It's a free card if I'm correct. Yeah, I am correct. All right. Yeah, main card FS1, 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time. Kicking off with the bantamweights. These girls are strawweights. Why am I thinking bantamweights? Yeah, you don't want to see Ronda Rousey against JoJo Calderwood because even with Ronda Rousey's awful striking, she beats the shit out of JoJo, unfortunately. So
no, I thought this was that weird 125 fight. Isn't it?
That's right. This is the first fight at 125 in the UFC. Thanks for reminding me. All right, you're right. It is, and actually. On that point, Valerie Letourneau was actually recently talking about how that weight cut to 115 was awful for her. Like she was just cutting a ridiculous amount of weight. So this fight at 125 is going to be a first. Now whether or not they're going to make a division out of it, we'll see. So technically the first female flyweight fight in the UFC. All right. So number 5, Valerie Letourneau. Number 12, JoJo Calderwood. Letourneau 8-4, 3-1 in the UFC. Last fight was that decision loss against Joanna Jędrzejczyk, which was very impressive. Because she hung in there against a multi-time multi-champ. She took a beating and would not get finished. It was honestly very impressive to me from the Canadian there from Quebec. And JoJo Calderwood 10-1. Actually, I think I got that wrong. There's no way she's 10-1, right? Or maybe Sure Dog is.
Letourneau 8-4, and then Calderwood.
She is 10-1.
10-1. That's correct. Yeah, that's right. Only loss being, who did she lose to? Or Moros. Yeah, that's who she lost to.
I think it's maybe because every time I see JoJo fight, I'm just like, oh man, you do not look good. You should not be fighting in the UFC. But you got to give her credit. She's 2-1 in the UFC. You know what I mean? Wins over Seo Hiem and the last one, Courtney Casey. Now again, JoJo gets hurt I believe she's been hurt a couple times, so maybe that's the reason why I wasn't thinking I didn't believe the 10-1 thing. But regardless, last fight against win against Courtney Casey. I like Letourneau on this one. The toughness. She's not going to get finished by JoJo. There's no way. Now, JoJo is a fighter. I've been waiting for JoJo to pull the trigger in her fights forever now. Like, every time you just think she's about to finally start going and let loose, start landing combos and all that, she lands a couple and then she sits back. You know what I mean? And I don't like that from JoJo. And I'm picking Valerie Letourneau at home and from the toughness and just honestly being a higher caliber fighter, in my opinion. Dave, who you picking?
Yeah, I got to go with Valerie Letourneau on this one. You referenced the fight with Joanna. Yeah, she really hung in there with Joanna. That was an amazing fight. Even in the later rounds, yeah, she was still competitive. She was still there. She wasn't going anywhere, so she's not going anywhere against Calderwood. I think Letourneau's boxing is a lot better than Calderwood. You did mention she is kind of like a fighter where you're unsure if she's going to turn it on or she shows those little phases of where she's really looking really well, and then the next round it's the total opposite. So I see it being Letourneau just being the tougher fighter in this bout. The boxing is going to be a big difference. It could be a slugfest as well too. It could be a complete fight of the night candidate right here, possibly with going under the radar. But I think Letourneau takes care of business. Fight finish, TKO, KO, second round is what I'm predicting.
Definitely, and again, Letourneau's going to have a lot of support in this fight.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's gonna be loud for her, especially fighting in Canada. She comes out out of American top team, so she's not a TriStar girl, but still plenty of hometown support. Who are you picking here, Jesse?
Wow. I was thinking that I was gonna be joining the crowd here and picking Calderwood, but apparently not. What I didn't like about Letourneau in that Jędrzejczyk fight wasn't the fact that she didn't get finished. It was the fact that she just basically didn't have anything for the champ JJ after that first round. That first round she looked good, and then after that she just kind of she just kind of shut down, in my opinion. Like, she was still there, she hung tough, almost kind of like Jessica Penne, in her last fight, where she just hung tough. She wasn't really trying to do anything. She wasn't really attacking and putting the champ in danger. And I think the problem is that it's her age. I really think that her age has gotten the best of her. I mean, you look at, some of the wins she has, and there's some great wins in there. But, I mean, at the age that she's at right now and the miles she's kind of put on herself, and especially that last fight, we'll talk about that in the main event. Having a fight like that where you just get beat up for 5 rounds, it's not good for your brain. It's not good for your body. It's not good for anybody. And I think that's going to be the difference. At any other point, had she not had that fight with JJ, I probably would have picked Letourneau basically on what Dave was saying about her boxing and all that. Mm-hmm. I just think that last fight really changed her, and, just all those intangibles, the age, the miles, all that stuff. I think Calderwood's gonna have a great performance, and I think Letourneau's gonna make Calderwood look good, better than what she's looked in her past fights, and I think we're gonna have a very interesting run at people wanting to see more fights at this weight, especially because, I mean, think about it. What is it? Miesha Tate also used to fight at 125. She feels like she's undersized in her division right now, where she's the champ. So I mean, I think we're gonna have a lot more women moving to 125 if they allow them to, and I think we're gonna get better fights out of it, actually. So, but again, I guess I'm the lone wolf picking Calderwood here.
And you know what? I'm in favor of more weight divisions, because this weight cutting thing is getting out of hand with a lot of people, and obviously with the end to the IVs and all that. And to mention actually on the weight cut thing and on weight divisions and all that, they're actually, you guys remember UFC 189, fighters were allowed to weigh in early in the day. That way they only had to be on weight for like 2 hours instead of the usual 4 to 5 hours or 4 hours that they had to do. Same thing's going to be in this card. The UFC's taking this on the road with them. Fighters will be allowed to weigh in early, which I'm 100% for. I think it's better to give the fighters more time to hydrate than it is, making them sit around for 4 hours feeling like complete crap, and then giving them less time to hydrate and less time to get back to health. So, yeah, if 125's a thing now, I'm all for it. Let's make it happen. And Andrew Reed asking, is JoJo training at TriStar? I believe she is. She did move there, I want to say in January. She went to Montreal, moved over to TriStar. So, look, I'm all for seeing a different JoJo, and I hope it is. But all those things about not pulling the trigger, that's a mental thing. And unless you fix that, I don't see it happening. I don't care how much training you get. If you're not mentally in the game, talking to sports psychologists, which I think TriStar actually does it. They have somebody in there to help them out. But unless you change her mindset, and just like Dave was saying, the one round she looks great, and she can't carry that momentum to the next round, what's the point? I mean, it's not going to matter. So, she's training at TriStar. Let's hope it helps her out. Look, if she wins, I like when they brought JoJo in, I was a big fan. I was like, oh, those knees are going to be monsters on some girls. And she just hasn't been able to put it together for any kind of finish. Let's see if she can get it against a very, very tough Valley Laterno fighting in her home country. All right, moving on to the next fight here. Olivier Aubin-Mercier against Thibaut Gouti. Aubin-Mercier is 8-2, 3-2 in the UFC. His last fight was a decision loss against Carlos Diego Ferreira. Gouti is 11-1. He's 0-1 in the UFC. And his last fight was actually Timu Pacman. I think it was a first-round submission loss, if I'm not mistaken, on the round. It was a submission loss, so starting out here with Dave, man. What do you think about this fight? Aubin-Mercier is one of those guys that had quite a bit of, in my opinion, quite a bit of hype coming into the UFC. And he started off a little up, and then kind of went down and up and down. Now he's starting to get into that really kind of an inconsistent rhythm as far as the UFC career goes. So he's hoping to get it straightened out here. Who are you picking in this fight?
Yeah, he definitely had a lot of hype coming into the UFC. I mean, he's got 2 losses in the UFC, and he's got the submission win over David Machoud. And I don't know if you guys caught the Titan fight last week with him and Diego Lima. Everybody knows what type of tough guy David Machoud is. So he's got that notable win under his belt. Mercier is a top-notch dude. He trains at TriStar with Rory Red King, with GSP. So he's been working hard for this one. On the side of Thibaut Gouti, he's been putting in a lot of work down here at Jackson's. I've actually caught a couple, training sessions with him and Phil Hawes. He's a big dude, like I had mentioned to you before we went live. Thibaut's a real big guy. He's definitely, going to have a little bit of a size advantage in there. Aubin-Mercier, I've seen him side by side with GSP, so he's a very well-conditioned guy. I think this fight's it's a great fight. I'm going to go against Canada in this one. I'm going to go with the upset. I guess probably Thibaut Guti's probably the underdog, I'm assuming. I don't see the odds right now, but I'm going to go with Thibaut in this one by decision. I think he makes it a war, and I think he drags it out, and it's going to be a tough battle. I think they go all the way, definitely. I think Thibaut's moved to Jackson, and he's been putting in great work down there. Lots of great training partners, and he's done the necessary work, and I think he's going to showcase that on Saturday.
And Thibaut, again, one of those guys that's going to get an advantage from the earlier weigh-in time, because like you said, he's a big dude. He gets more time to fill out and to hydrate and to feel better. He's going to go in there bigger than he would have been had he only gotten a shorter amount of time. And people can say, oh, it's only 2, 3, 4 hours, whatever, 5 hours extra of hydrating. That's a lot. That's a hell of a lot. So, Jesse, who are you picking in this fight, man?
Yeah, I agree with Dave and his analysis here, but I just think I really think that the intangible here is how comfortable Mercier is going to be. You look at some of his fights, he just looks uncomfortable, and to me it kind of seems like he's starting to grow into his UFC career. And that's kind of what we were hoping for. We were hoping for him to come off of that, what was it, Tough Nations, I think that he was on, and kind of make a splash. And I think all that pressure kind of squashed him a little bit. And his last fight, I mean, he just, there was a lot of hype behind him, where he should be ranked after this fight and all this stuff. And again, that squashed his performance. He didn't look like he was comfortable in there. And I think fighting at home and just kind of having, one more shot at, kind of embracing all that hype and showing why he's I think his nickname is the Quebec Kid or something like that. Why he should represent Canada to the fullest. I think he's going to shine in this fight. I just think he's going to be able to show off pretty much his skills that he has shown off glimpses of. I always say that when I would see his fights, you could see the glimpses. You could see the glimpses of like GSP with a kind of bit more exciting, more wanting for the finish, looking for the finishes. And I think we're hopefully, gonna get to see that. If he's able to overcome that pressure, which is what I think has been his whole problem, is just the pressure of, being the next GSP, being the hype of, Canada. I think if he can get past that, we can get some great performances out of him. So I'm picking Mercier here at home to win.
All right, moving on here. You got to do that. Biker gang came back to look for you, man.
I know, man.
Yeah, for sure. Get that ladder. It's not good. Get in trouble. All right, moving on. Couple big guys up here in the next fight. Steve Boss against Sean O'Connell. Obviously, Boss is a former hockey player, Canadian. So he's got two things going for him. He's gonna get a pop in that building for sure. He's 11-2, 1-1 in the UFC. Last fight was a knockout win of James Tahuna. Meanwhile, O'Connell 17-7, 2-3 in the UFC. Just suffered a TKO loss to Ilir Latifi in the first round. Meanwhile, give him all the credit. Ilir Latifi is a heavy hitter, dude. That guy will put you down with one punch if you give him a chance. So it's again out of TriStar, Boss at home. You would think, he's gonna get the crowd behind him. Is that gonna be enough, Jesse, to help him win the fight?
I'm not impressed with Steve Bossy. I mean, he's a thug. He's a thug fighter, basically. You know, he's one of those guys. He's kind of like, to me, he's one of those throwback fighters where, you know, UFC 1, UFC 2, when they would say, you know, what his style of fighting was, his would be Street Fighter. You know, like he doesn't really show that he has a discipline. You know, he's kind of sloppy. And really, he makes it exciting. You know, don't get me wrong. I mean, you want a guy like Steve Bossy in the UFC because you put him in a fight and he's gonna throw hammers until somebody goes down or he goes down, or you know, they do the crappy way of beating him by, like, you know, getting him, you know, taking him down and decisioning him. On the other side, I think Sean O'Connell, you know, smart guy. I think he knows how to beat Bossy. I think he's gonna figure out how to use you know, his experience and his variety of attacks. Again, another guy that has a lot of ways to beat you. He just doesn't like to show them. He just likes to be exciting. He likes to, you know, do his thing. I think we're gonna get an exciting fight here. I think Sean O'Connell's gonna win, just based upon that he's got the power to knock Bossy out, and I think he's gonna use his experience to really stay away from those really, really heavy shots. And hopefully we get a good weigh-in thing, because he likes to do those crazy little buddy things at the weigh-ins, right? He's the guy.
Yeah, I think he's one of those guys. I'm not sure. Yeah, Dave, man, what do you think about this fight, dude?
This one here, I'm liking Sean O'Connell in this fight. I got to go against Canada 2 in a row, I guess, here. I think O'Connell's just more craftier. He's more, he's got the experience on his side. Like Jesse mentioned, or you guys mentioned, he kind of gets sloppy. That's why I think, and he did have a bout with Sirkunov, I think. It got canceled. Wish that fight would have actually happened. That would have been a sick fight if it did go down. But O'Connell's got a lot of knockout finishes. Bossey's got the power. Both guys got heavy hands. I think, I'm leaning O'Connell, not by much, but this fight absolutely doesn't go 3 rounds. I mean, it's going to go no more than 2, if not first round, KO either way, but I'm taking O'Connell by a KO, TKO first round.
All right, yeah, I mean, look, I like O'Connell in this one too. You know, Bossy definitely, you know, Canadian, and he was a thug in hockey as well. I was reading about him. He was an enforcer kind of guy in hockey, so transitioning to fighting was a good spot for him. But just like Jesse said, throwback kind of guy. Back in the day when all you needed was just to have balls to get in the middle and just throw hands, and that could get you fan support and sometimes wins. That's the kind of guy. But we're in a new age of MMA where some of these guys have been training mixed martial arts since they were pretty damn young. You know what I mean? So it's yeah. So
and to throw some numbers out there too. To actually, when I was throwing the world ranking numbers, they're real interesting in this bout because you got Bosse ranked 100 and you got O'Connell at 32. So those are the numbers playing into this bout. Just to throw that out there.
Yeah, definitely. And look, just based off of that, this is a fight that UFC put together to get some sparks. They're hoping for a crazy brawl in this one, and I think they're gonna get it. I think that these are the two guys that if you put together looking for a brawl, these are the two guys that would do it. So that's what we're hoping for. All right, next up we get one of your boys, man. Donald Cowboy Cerrone against Patrick Cote. Cerrone 29-7, 1-0 contest, 16-4 in the UFC. Last fight, that first round submission win over Alex Oliveira, which I didn't see a submission coming in that fight, but hell, it was impressive, and it was impressive on its own. Patrick Cote, meanwhile, just as experienced in my opinion, 24-9, 9-9 in the UFC, 3-fight win streak. He's got Ben Saunders, Josh Berkman, and Joe Riggs. The Joe Riggs fight aside, those Ben Saunders, Josh Berkman are pretty tough guys in my opinion, and it's gonna be a hell of a fight. I don't even want to think about what's going to happen here. Dave, your boy's in it. What do you think?
Yeah, Donald Cerrone. I've seen a lot of Donald lately. I've seen him down in the gym. He's always consistently working hard. He works harder than a lot of, all these guys at Jackson, but you always constantly see Donald's posts online. I mean, the guy, he's just, a fighter. He's just a born fighter. This fight here, to throw those numbers back in the mix, they got Cowboy ranked number 36 as a welterweight in the world against Cote number 20. So this fight kind of, it's, Cote with the win. He's getting into the mix. He's moving up the rankings. But Donald, he's coming off the bout where I think, Donald's known to be a slow starter. And in his last bout, he sort of got hurt. He got tagged a little bit. I know he finished the fight. Anytime Cowboy gets the chance to finish a bout, he usually seals the deal. If you leave him an opening, if he hurts you, he jumps on you. The fight usually doesn't last very long. This fight here, if it is a slow start, like Cowboy's known for, Patrick Cote, you better be able to jump on him because if the fight goes into that second, third round, I'm definitely favoring Donald Cerrone in this one. So it's going to play out. First round, you'll know right away what's happening with this bout, much like a lot of previous Donald Cerrone fights. But yeah, if you look at the numbers, Donald Cerrone, he's going to stay at 170. Currently ranked 36 in the world. If he's going to move on up, Patrick Cote is a big win for him. Moving in the right direction. So I'm picking Donald Cerrone here by KO, TKO.
All right, Jesse, what do you think about that, man? Patrick Cote is I heard the whistle. What you got, Jesse? Who you picking?
That is some major home cooking right there, right? you know what? I think the problem is if we were just going, not like having seen a lot of the fights that Cerrone's been in, I would pick Cerrone. The problem is that we've seen where his problems are coming from, and I think the biggest problem is that Cote is smart. Cote's smart. He's a lot bigger than him, and he knows exactly where he's going to be able to attack Cowboy and really put him in danger. I can't think of another fighter that has lost as many times from body shots as Cowboy has, and I think that's going to be one of the areas that Patrick Cote is going to use to really open up Cowboy to his striking. Like I said, I like Cowboy. If you just put him in a bar and tell him go fight somebody, that dude is ready to go, and he makes it exciting. He makes it a fight. I just think that this move to 170 is almost a mistake for him. I know that cutting down to 155 is just not good. He just basically is not happy doing it. He's not wanting to do it anymore, especially because of the IVs. I just think that if they had maybe like 65, maybe that would be better for him. But at 170, those 5 extra pounds really makes a difference, I think. And like I said, just the power and the size of Cote is going to be kind of an eye-opener for Cowboy, I think. Even though he goes with, the heavyweights, I think Frank Mir talks about that. He likes to go with the heavyweights, and he, gives them fits and problems, and he really can handle their power. I think this is just going to be an eye-opening experience for him of actually getting in there with somebody that really knows how to utilize their weight and everything in their power. And I just don't see it going good for Cowboy. I could be wrong, but man, I just don't see it going good for Cowboy in this fight.
Yeah, look, my criticism about Cowboy has always been the getting started, getting going. It's almost like he might even benefit from one of his trainers slapping the shit out of him before the fight. Just literally when they're when he's giving everyone hugs, just have someone smack him around a little bit to get the spark going, because he's got to figure that out. Now the move to 170, I don't mind too much. Now look, he's got the height in this fight. He's got the reach in this fight, so it's not like he's going to be a hell of a whole lot smaller. It's a hard fight for me to pick, right? Because I like Cowboy, and I always say if Cowboy starts off and just goes like we know the Cowboy has the ability to do, he's got this fight. Patrick Cote is an animal. This is gonna be a sparks fly everywhere. It's a hard fight for me to pick. I'm actually gonna go Cowboy. I think he's a guy that will throw fucks out the window. Look, Cote's disappointed me before. Every time I pick Cote, the dude loses. All right, and I picked honestly, and I'm not gonna lie, I picked against him in his last 3, and he won all 3. All right. I'm not saying that because I picked Cowboy so Cote will win, but again, I like Cowboy, and I might just be a fanboy on this one. I love watching Cowboy fight, I really do. And
Yeah, I've
I like
always
Patrick. Huh?
I picked against Cowboys so many times, and that's kind of the reason why I'm going for him this time around. I picked against him every time I do go against him. The guy ends up winning. I just know he's a tough ass dude, and I think he's going in there. Yeah, Cote. I mean, he's a bigger dude. He does have he's fought bigger guys. He's got hit by harder punches possibly. But Donald trains with these guys at Jackson's. Bigger guys always is Donald's preference, like you guys did reference that. So Donald is down to bang. He's been working his ass off. So I think he goes up there and showcases what everybody wants to see is the Donald Cowboy Cerrone fight. So fight of the night, knockout of the night. It's Donald Cerrone's name's in the mix no matter what when he's on any card. So let's see. I want to see just a great fight. I see Donald pulling it out though.
Look. I mean, I agree with you guys, and I think my heart is with Cowboy. I really wanted to see him last longer than what, like 45 seconds in his last fight or not his last fight, but his title fight against Dos Anjos. Yeah, I really wanted to see that fight really kind of mature, like instead of just having that quick finish, because I really think that when Cowboy is on, Cowboy is unstoppable. I mean, we've seen him put some beautiful performances in the past. Again, the only problem I see here is, is just the experience and the size difference, just body-wise, not like because of the reach or because of the height, but because Cote just has more experience dealing with these guys that are cutting down from 190, and coming down. So I just think that experience is invaluable. I mean, if Cowboy is able to really start going and gets through this fight and wins, I think that's going to be the ultimate confidence builder that he's going to be able to take pretty much to the top of the 170 division. But again, I think this is a really, really tough fight for him.
Yeah, look, it's definitely a tough fight for Cowboy, and you guys are both right. Cote's a big dude. He's fought bigger dudes, and look, we're just hoping for a crazy fight in this one. And look, I think it'll be two guys that are going to keep it standing too. All right, moving on to a possible crazier fight because we got two guys on the come up. Okay, number 1 ranked Rory MacDonald against number 2 Stephen Thompson. We don't get a lot of these fights outside of title fights. Okay, where you get 1 and 2 fighting, we don't get a lot of those. This is a title eliminator.
Wait.
What?
Brock isn't number 1 and Mark Hunt is the number 2?
Look,
go ahead. Continue.
The fanboys would have you think that, all right? I'm just telling you right now. Okay, Brock, can you hear me now? No, I don't want to hear you. Shut up. But UFC wanted to bring his ass back. Anyway, all right, moving on. Rory MacDonald against Stephen Thompson. MacDonald 18-9, 9-3 in the UFC. Last fight was a TKO loss to Robbie Lawler. For the title, and an incredible fight that people were even almost calling for a rematch. It was like the Condit fight. When Condit lost that fight against Robbie, everyone was hoping for a rematch. People were calling for a rematch against with MacDonald, even though it was a finish. He got finished, but it was a hell of a fight. That picture and actually have a poster of it that I got from. I'm gonna give him a shout out after I make my finish this over here. I'll give him a shout out. But I actually have a poster I got online of that moment when they were staring at each other. And it's a drawn poster. It's freaking awesome. When they're staring at each other at the end of that 4th round, bloodied up after a war, going, yeah, we're going to go one more. And I'm still here. And Robbie's like, I'm still here too. Let's go. That was an awesome, awesome thing. And people always talk about, people recently have been talking about Rory MacDonald having that switch in his head now. Ever since the Lawler fight, does he have that switch in his head to just throw down, brawl the way Robbie does and has his entire career? Meanwhile, Thompson, 12-1, 7-1 in the UFC, 6-fight win streak, including wins over Robert Whittaker, Patrick Cote, Jake Ellenberger, and Johnny Hendricks. So the point that I was making before, Jesse, was if there's a time to give for Stephen Thompson, for Wonder Boy, to win a fight and get that title shot, it is right now, right? He took it on heavy strikers and just took on a high-level wrestler in Johnny Hendricks, who can also hit like a Mack truck. So this is an incredible fight, in my opinion. Who are you picking in this one?
Whoa, it's kind of a tough fight to really break down because there's a big intangible here, and that's that Rory versus his last fight. Basically, that fight, the damage that he sustained in that fight is just something, again, kind of like the Valerie Letourneau fight. You don't want to be in that type of fight. You never want to be in that type of fight where basically your body is the one that gives out. And I think I heard an interview where he said that basically with that last shot, his eyesight just went blank. Like he just couldn't see anything at that point. That's kind of why he kind of just basically was like, yeah, it's over. Like I'm now blind. Great. And I think those are the types of fights that are great for the fans, not great for the fighter. You may want to have one of those fights maybe early in your career, but not at this point. I think Rory has been through the meat grinder. They kind of should have given him the rematch. But I mean, I think I'm picking Stephen Thompson, and I think it's because of his confidence coming off of beating a former champion, and really just I put less experience, or in other words, less miles on his body. I think that fight was a game changer for Rory. I think we're going to see kind of a different Rory maybe, and I think Stephen Thompson is going to be able to take advantage of that. The other thing that's going to be interesting for me is how Thompson is going to look in this fight. Is he going to be as aggressive as he was with Hendricks? The way he basically just blitzed him and ran through him was pretty amazing. Rory McDonald is pretty crafty, so he might be able to defend against that type of blitz. But I just think that we've seen so many fighters. If you look at Josh Koscheck after he got his eye busted, every time he gets popped in that eye, he starts touching it. So many fighters, once something in their face kind of just gets broken, mostly their orbital, they're never the same. They can't take that hard shot that they used to because they kind of have it, even no matter how confident they are that everything's healed, they still have it in the back of their head that they don't want that injury again. So I think this is going to be a tough fight for both of these guys, and I think Stephen Thompson's going to pull out the win.
Look, and again, this is a hard fight for me to pick. I'll give you my pick at the end here, but I've always been a fan of Stephen Wonder Boy. But it's just, to me, this Rory's got this thing about him that, especially after that fight with Lawler, where it's I want to pick Wonder Boy, but it's hard for me to pick against Rory, especially against after that last fight. At the same time, Rory and Robbie left something in that cage or in the octagon that night, and I wonder if Rory might have left a lot more than we think. You know what I mean? And there's been talk about he might have suffered some kind of head trauma or something in that fight, and that will affect you in your future fights. So I think in this fight we're going to find out what this Rory from now on is going to be like, and you kind of hope he's the same or better than he was before. But maybe Robbie took a little bit out of him, Dave. It's a tough fight for me to pick. But who are you taking?
Oh yeah, very tough fight to pick. Both these guys are killers. Rory's fought the who's who at his division, competed at a very high level. I mean, this fight's a rare fight, 1 against 2. We likely won't see this for some time. I mean, for this type of division as deep as it is, and the prestige that's behind the 170 belt currently with Robbie on the run that he is, a lot of these guys are right there. Tyron's getting the shot. Carlos, it's just an exciting division. I think this one's I'm leaning towards Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. I have to agree with you guys. How Jesse, how you mentioned when guys take shots and how their face, if there's something that does happen, the Koscheck reference was great because it is true. And that stuff, when it does happen, fighters are never the same. That's going to factor into this fight. I can't. It's hard to imagine seeing Rory get into another battle just similar to the Robbie Lawler fight. If it does, I mean, hey, we could have a fantastic fight. It's a 5-round duel. I think Stephen Wonderboy Thompson is the more. He's the guy. He's a fresher guy. Let's put it that way. Rory's taken some time off, but then again, that's a necessary time that he's taken off on. I like when fighters are in battles like they are, and they take the time off. So him coming back in his home country, and definitely it's his last fight on his contract too. So that's another interesting detail to it too. So a lot on the line for him. So I think if he showcases, a great finish, if he happens to finish Wonderboy, I mean, yeah, Rory's back in the mix. Rory's getting the title shot. So especially at home with a big win. But it's just hard to imagine and hard to see if he goes and gets into a war with Wonderboy. I mean, I think Wonderboy gets the job done. It's a tough fight to pick, but I'm going Stephen Wonderboy Thompson.
All right, and a couple things here on YouTube before I give my pick here. And going back to the last fight, Andrew Reese picking Patrick Cote. Shout out to Art Bell's got a few good ideas for podcast themes, so appreciate that, Art. Shout out Nick Pilecki, our boy, is actually listening, saying one of the best fights ever, talking about Robbie and Rory, and Andrew Reed's picking Josh Thompson in this fight. Now here's the thing about this fight: Thompson is
Thompson?
Huh?
Stephen Thompson?
Yeah, Wonder Boy.
Yeah, you said Josh Thompson.
I'm a Josh Thompson fan, dude. Look, he landed that knee on he lands shit on anybody. Look, if you knock out Nate Diaz, you have my respect, okay? That's all I'm saying. Anyway.
Do that.
You have mad respect for me. And so I'm a Josh Thompson fan forever, or Thompson fan forever. But Wonder Boy, Andy Reid's picking Wonder Boy. The thing about Wonder Boy is that he's on a streak that we see from guys that are just incredibly confident. He can hit you from angles. He's got unorthodox striking. He's just on that momentum. He's on one of those runs where you just see a guy and you just think and you feel like he's destined for a title shot. He's destined for something like that. Rory McDonald has been in a title fight. And again, I gotta say, I think he left a part of himself in the octagon. They both did, but I think Rory might have left a lot in the octagon. And I wonder if he's gonna have it in this fight. Now I know me and Dave were talking about this before the show started. He's on his last fight on his UFC contract. We see in other sports, right? Contract years for football players, for basketball players, they come up with incredible years, incredible seasons, and then other teams overpay for those guys and they go back to their normal thing sometimes. Rory McDonald's on his last fight. He's one of those guys that took that risk, right? Most of the time, promotions with popular fighters try to re-sign them for their last fight. Rory McDonald decided, hey, let's just see what happens. He's taking a risk. So he's got extra motivation, extra pressure, but extra motivation to put in a great performance and to get a win, especially. Rory's got a lot of tools out of that TriStar camp. Thompson, people will say he's known for stand-up. He's known for striking, right? Rory's got striking and ground game as well. Thompson's got underrated ground game. He has it. He's submitted dudes before. Don't get it twisted. He can go to the ground if he has to. I'm picking Rory McDonald. Again, another fanboy pick, partly fanboy pick, partly because I want to see that Robbie Rory 2 at some point for the title. It's just Rory's got a lot of tools, and I think he's gonna be able to find a different way. In fact, that's the thing. Rory's one of those find a way to win kind of guys, in my opinion. Find a way to win kind of guys, and does not at all hurt that you have Firas Zahabi in your corner out of that TriStar camp. You know what I mean? Like camps, you can always list off camps that you respect highly. Jackson's is there. TriStar, absolutely up there as one of the top 5 camps in MMA. You could even say in MMA history. I mean, if you train GSP and you got him through that incredible title run that he had, I mean, you got to give him a lot of credit. And Firas Zahabi is at the center of that run. Rory McDonald trains with GSP all the time. The killers they got up there. Meanwhile, Stephen Thompson, I'm sure he's training with great guys as well, and he's had an incredible run, incredible win, especially all the names that I read out. Johnny Hendricks, Kote, all those guys. We got two just high-level guys coming in a clash, and it's almost like, hey, the first one to blink loses. It's almost like that kind of fight for me, that kind of fight. So I'm picking Rory McDonald in this one. I guess it's a really hard fight for me to pick, man. I wish neither one of the guys had to lose. But my opinion, title eliminator. I think winner of this gets the winner of Lawler Woodley. And look, like I said, for Thompson, if there's any time at all for him to earn the title shot, it's right now, especially against a guy like Rory. But I think Rory's gonna pull it off and get his rematch or his second shot at the 170 title here in this fight. So anything else you guys want to add to that?
Yeah, I want to add one or two things to the end of this with the title title implications. One thing or two things. The first thing is do you guys believe that definitely win or lose, if it's Wonder Boy or if it's Rory, that they get the shot? Absolutely, they do get the shot. Even if it's a decision, KO, however the finish it may be, they definitely get the shot. What do you guys think about that?
Hi, Jesse.
Yeah, you know what? I think they cannot deny either one of these two guys. I mean, both of these guys are riding so high, and to make them the main event on a fight card, it says a lot. It says that they have the confidence that these two guys are stars, and they're gonna build an even bigger star from the ashes of this aftermath, and I think I think they're hoping either, either way, they're going to get either an exciting finish from Thompson, and they're going to be able to, put those highlights on there when he, goes for the title, or they're going to just show highlights of that first fight between McDonald and Lawler and be like, we're doing it again. It's like either way, it's a win-win for them, and I think that they're looking for something exciting to be able to promote that and make it, a big deal again. And again, I think also they would want Rory kind of to win and to win the title because they need that Canadian hero, to rise again, to be able to carry that flag that GSP kind of put down gently and walked away from. So I think that's why they're giving Rory these chances to kind of, come back and really be right in the mix right away.
And honestly, I missed the question because I was getting the tweet over here. So can you repeat it, Dave? Apologies for that.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to mention that win or lose, say it's Rory, say it's Steven, KO, submission, TKO, do they get the title shot, either guy, no matter what?
You have to be. They're 1 and 2, I think. I mean, who else are you going to throw in there? Look, again, there's so many wacky things happening in the UFC. I mean, we're getting freaking Nate Diaz against Conor McGregor too. Okay, we're getting that fight. Brock's coming back, and people think whatever they want about it. We've had weird matches in the UFC. Now, I always say this to people that have been watching the sport for a long time and people that are watching the sport for a short time. If you think about it, the UFC UFC is a business, all right? In fact, there's been rumors that they're selling or they've been sold. There's some crazy stuff going on. Who knows? A certain someone might get banned again for leaking that stuff. But
oh no, BJ Penn, come on, man.
No, it wasn't BJ. It was your big nose homeboy, Mr. Helwani.
Oh really?
Helwani's the one that put that out there. So hey, like I said, he might get banned again for that one. Anyway, which who knows? Anyway, but it's a business. They want to make money. They're gonna make those matchups. So let's say Thompson wins. Okay, he's got a whole lot of hype around him right now. I think you make that fight. I think you win. There you go, title fight, right? That would be the fair thing to do, and that would be the smart thing to do. Because who else at 170, right? But let's say Rory wins, and it's just a crappy fight, and nobody wants to see it, right? No one's impressed at all. They're gonna be like, you guys want to give Condit a call, or you guys want to give whoever else a call and see what's up, right? Or even if let's say Thompson wins and it's a boring fight, they always do it by feel. It's not. MMA math is not a real thing anymore. People used to talk about it a lot. It's not. It's about money, right? It's about pay-per-view buys and who's going to tune in and all that. Who's got the biggest hype? The reason McGregor's where he's at, is because he got the push, he's got the hype, he's got the numbers. It's he's coming off a loss and people are giving another fight. He's still the 145 champion. They haven't stripped him of the belt. Please, you tell me who else would get that kind of treatment? Nobody. You know what I mean? But he's a draw. So, but I think in this case you get two guys that aren't going to bore you to death. You know what I mean? They're going to go in there and put their hearts into it and fight, especially with Rory coming off his loss, but coming off that fight against Robbie. And I think you have to put the winner in this one because I really highly doubt it's going to be a boring fight. I think it's going to be some kind of crazy fight, if not even a highlight finish for one of them. And you got to ride that wave of momentum, that wave of hype on him, and give him a title shot. And especially if it's Wonder Boy. I mean, it's about damn time. I mean, everyone talks about Michael Bisping 10 years and all that, and that's great and everything. But Thompson's riding a high right now. You gotta get him in there if he wins, I think.
Whoa. But let's talk about Max Holloway being on a 9-fight win streak and still not even they're not even talking about Max Holloway for a title shot.
And that's some fucking bullshit
in itself.
That's
100% bullshit.
100% bullshit, man. And that's a lot because it has a lot to do with McGregor. Almost all of that has to do with McGregor. If McGregor wasn't the champ, if it was Frankie, if it was Aldo, anybody else, please believe Holloway got that title shot by now, okay? And it has nothing to do with the loss that Holloway had to McGregor. Don't get that twisted. You don't win 8 or 9 fights in a row. In fact, you know what the stat I read the other day was? Holloway's the first guy to have, I think, 8 or 9 fight win streak and not get a title shot. The only guy in UFC history that's happened to it. That's messed up. You know what I mean?
Another guy's going to be right there in the mix. In a couple months, I see him winning the fight against Chiesa is Ferguson. Ferguson. If he would have fought Khabib, he's right there for the title fight. But that fight, they couldn't wait 2 weeks to get that fight booked. But he's in that same boat. They're not talking about him. I see him as a top guy at 55. He could take anybody out at top 55.
Jesse.
But against Dos Anjos, I don't know, man. Dos Anjos with that aggressive style. Now we're in the weeds right here. We're in the bushes right here. But I'm saying Like just stylistically, you stylistically match up both of those guys, and I see Tony being one of those guys that like beats. He's kind of like Uriah Faber, where he beats everybody except the champ. You know, he's going to be able to give the champ a little bit of problem, but I just don't think he has enough to beat the champ at this point.
Yeah, and yeah, you have a point there, but we still got to wait and see what happens in July with RDA and a very tough fight with Eddie Alvarez. Tough fight. Both pressure kind of guys and a wrestler. I don't know who to pick yet there, but look, what, Jesse? What do you got, Mr. King's MMA? You know what's funny about this? No. You know what's funny about this? Dave's Jackson's guy because he goes in there all the time. You're a King's MMA guy, okay? You always pick your King's MMA guy, so I already know who you're picking in all those fights. Whenever it's a King's guy, I know who you're picking, okay? So it's all good.
Yeah, all right. All right. I'll admit that.
Okay, and the thing, I
didn't even bring my hat today, so.
Oh yeah. You got your King's MMA hat. That's right. Like I got MMA Lab in my backyard. I got Arizona Combat Sports, Jay Pages, all those places. I don't pick any of those guys because I don't gotta. You know what I mean? I just don't. And fuck, Power MMA is in my backyard for crying out loud. Ryan Bader and all them. But regardless, you know, I get when you're picking, man. All right, I get it. Anyway, all right. So anything else you guys want to throw in here?
Yeah, the other thing I wanted to add to close it out would be I want each of you guys, one of you guys each to let me know how much time do we see Rory and Wonder Boy on the ground out total? No, 0?
Man, you know what? I think I see an outside chance of Rory thinking, hey, look, let's see who's better on the ground. But again, in that fight against Robbie, we didn't see him on the ground almost at all, right? I mean, if I remember correctly, it was all stand-up. It was almost like, hey, man, let's stand and see who's a man. Let's go. Rory might be down to do that again. It all depends, but I think if he goes to the ground, Rory might have the edge on them. What do you think, Jesse?
It's kind of hard for me because, again, Stephen Thompson, he trains with one of the best wrestlers that we've seen, you know? Even though right now Weidman is injured, I mean, he's one of the best at taking people down and really implementing this game plan, and he trains with him all the time. He's the one that they brought in to emulate Anderson Silva, and he's kind of just stuck around, married into the Weidman family, so, you know, who knows how that went down, but I just don't think, I think that Rory will probably get into trouble and might attempt to take him down, but I just don't think that he's, you know, as many levels above Thompson as a lot of people think. I think you even talked about it, Eddie, before that. Thompson has a very underrated ground game, and I think that might come into play. The other thing is too that you know, being a smart fighter, I think Rory in that fight against Lawler, he attempted a couple takedowns, but he's not the type of guy that keeps going to the same well if it doesn't work. If it doesn't work, and Frost is like, yeah, that's not working. Let's just, you know, try to stay on the outside, pepper him, and, you know, try to use movement and stuff. That's it. He's not going to try that again. And I think that's what we got in that fight. I think if he's successful, or if he can at least throw off Wonder Boy, I think we'll see more of a ground attack from Rory in this fight. I would actually give, maybe we could get like at least three to 5 minutes of solid ground fighting.
You know, I think that's fair. I think that would work. I think that 35 minutes sounds about right. So, yeah. Anyway, all right. A couple more things here. Andrew Reed saying Fedor on Friday. Who you guys picking? Fedor against Maldonado. I think it's EFN. Forgot the number, or ENF. One of those. Jesse, who you picking? Fedor or Maldonado?
Is that for real? You're asking us our picks? Come on.
I'm just asking just because I gotta ask, man.
You're talking about a guy that punches people and a guy that's a punching bag. Yeah, Fedor is probably going to put face off.
All right, Dave.
Yeah, that's why I tweeted out, I think, a couple days back. I mean, I'm familiar with Maldonado. I mean, you stole the words right out of my mouth, the punching bag. Like, he's been a punching bag for everybody for 5 straight years. But, yeah, Fedor gets in there, and I guess he handpicked Maldonado either way, so it's kind of been the route a lot of Fedor fights have been. I see it that way. But, yeah, Maldonado gets destroyed on Friday.
All right, and then looking at the headlines here real quick, Anthony Pettis moving to 145, gets Charles Oliveira, or Charles Oliveira first. Dave, Anthony Pettis at 155 or 145. What do you think?
I think yeah, he's trying to change it up. I mean, a couple, 3 or 4 losses now. If he gets, another loss at lightweight, it kind of really screws him up. And he's in uncharted territory at that point. So now he's taking the Frankie Edgar route. But then again, Pettis could be competitive. I mean, he's going to be a little lighter, a little bit skinnier, a little bit different physique on him. But yeah, I think he can. It's a pretty high-profile fight with Oliveira. Pretty technical fight as well too. I think it'll be an exciting bout. I mean, both the guys. Hopefully, there's no injuries. Hopefully, it does happen. I'm excited to see Oliveira back in there. I thought a fight with T City would have been perfect, but they announced this. I was talking about that yesterday. They announced this today, so yeah, that's great. I'll try to catch up with Anthony here at the gym as well and get a take on that move and Oliveira as the opponent as well. So
yeah, and Jesse Oliveira had been complaining recently he did not get an opponent. And then today they go, okay, you want an opponent? Here you go. Anthony Pettis, 145. Here you go. Have fun. What do you think about that? What do you think about Anthony Pettis at 145 and that matchup?
It's a tough fight to really pick, because you think about his last opponent, a guy that's a striker, not going to take him down, not going to use any kind of wrestling where, we've seen Pettis really struggle. And he still wasn't able to pull the trigger, wasn't able to do what we expected him to do. I just think that okay, I'm gonna sound like a homer again here, but I think that beating that he took at the hands of RDA kind of changed him quite a bit. I think he lasted in that fight. He went all 5 rounds and he just took a beating, where he just he even admits himself like he didn't know what was going on. Like he tried different things and nothing was working, and he was just like he just didn't know what. And I think that's why we've seen him change camps, a different wrestling coach, just changing weight classes. It's all the classic things of somebody that's trying to figure out, what the secret formula was to their success and how to get it back. And I don't know if this is the right move for him.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm with you on that. I think that fight with RDA took his confidence away in a nasty way. And if you're an athlete, a pro athlete, any sport, it doesn't matter what sport it is, your confidence goes and you're tanking. I mean, you're immediately dropping. So that's it. And then last but not least, Will Brooks finally signs with the UFC, getting some new blood at 155. I'm excited to see it. He gets a tough fight though for his first one. A lot of people are disagreeing with me on that for some reason. But Ross Pearson is not an easy out for anybody. A wrestler, jiu-jitsu guy, so it doesn't matter. It's going to be a tough fight. Jesse, what do you think about Will Brooks here at the UFC now?
Man, I think Will Brooks is in for a really, really rude awakening. I can't say I wasn't impressed, but I just never thought that he was UFC caliber. I always thought that he was a good Bellator fighter, a good champion for Bellator, and maybe make his name, make his stake, become like their poster boy, kind of like what's that guy, the most dangerous man in the world that they have over there? Yeah, Joe Warren. Kind of like be the company guy, be the Bellator guy. I just think he's gonna jump over here, and he's not. I don't think he's ready for the level of competition that's in the UFC. And like you said, Ross Pearson. I mean, if you ask me, what's the worst matchup? It'd be someone like Ross Pearson, someone that can hit heavy, can avoid the takedowns and really even put you on your back and ground and pound you. So. Yeah, not good, man. Not good for Will here.
All right, Dave, what do you think about Will Brooks, man? I mean, coming in finally. Look, I'm waiting for Michael Bennett Pace to make the jump at some point, hopefully soon. But Will Brooks, former champ, he actually upset was it Michael Chandler he upset for the title, right? Okay, so Dave, what do you think about Will Brooks in the UFC now?
Yeah, that's a great addition. I like that Pearson matchup. It's a tough, grinded matchup that he's going to have to really grind out a win, literally against Ross. Ross is not an easy out, kind of like Eddie Alvarez taking on Donald Cerrone in his debut. But yeah, he's gonna face some tough competition. That division's stacked. I don't know what Will Brooks' world ranking is right now, but when he's officially in the UFC after a win, and we'll kind of gauge where he stands with the top guys, because he's a former champion. He tends to, he calls out guys. Guys call him out, so it'll be interesting to see, who's calling who out. And definitely Pearson, he's got to go through him and look impressive against him as well to even start talking to the top guys in that division. So Just excited to see him added to the UFC, though. It's a great addition, so looking forward to seeing Will in there.
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited to see him as well. I was pretty pumped when I heard he signed. He actually apparently he broke into tears after he signed, because that was one of his biggest goals, to sign with the UFC. So it's about that time we get to see him in there. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching us today. Thanks for sticking with us for an hour and a half. One of our longer breakdown shows, especially for a card that's not a pay-per-view card. But hey, all good. Shout out to Andrew Reed. Thanks for watching, man. Jay Russell, Vendetta Fighter. I appreciate that, man. Art Bell, who always watches these and leaves comments all the time in these videos. Appreciate it, man. Nick Pilecki dropping in for a second with us, our boy. Appreciate it. Everybody else that tunes in and watches, really, really appreciate you guys watching the shows. You can follow Jesse at SPWAT, SPW181983. Follow Dave at DAVZ. So V as in, this V like Vendetta, that kind of shit. DAVZ MMA Brief on Twitter. You're also on ESPN Radio, right?
That's correct, yeah.
So yeah, our boy's got connections. He's in it. He's real. So no, definitely give this man a follow. Follow me at Elaw31. Pages at Crossroads MMA, and we will catch you guys in the next show here. So again, for myself, Jesse, Dave, you guys, appreciate you guys. Have a good morning, have a good night, afternoon, wherever you're at, different time zones, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.
Cool. Thanks, man. We'll see you.
Stay out of Florida.